Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of the Iron Life Podcast. I am your host, Chris Tutela, here to help you live the Iron Life. And I want to kick off today's episode for you. That's my sleep deprivation talking there. Baby CJ doesn't like to let us get too much sleep these days. But I want to kick this episode off with a quick story for you. And I want to encourage you to never go food shopping when you're hungry. And I'll tell you why. A while back, I was starving, man. I was so hungry, and I needed to go grocery shopping for the week. So I decided to go, and I saw what looked like a delicious bag of dried cherries that was just kind of staring me in the face. So I said, all right, let me pick these up and snack on these as I go. Well, I was absolutely starving, so I ended up crushing the entire bag of dried cherries, which is definitely not recommended, right? But I ate the entire bag. So aside from the giant sugar surge that I got from that bag of dried cherries, later on that night, I was lying in my bed getting ready to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, man, I'll tell you, my stomach was like a fucking car trying to start like an old piece of shit car trying to start in the winter, like rumbling, right? And I'm like, oh shit. I think I may have eaten way too many cherries. So I'm sitting there, my stomach, all of a sudden I'm in this devastating pain. Like I'm getting these sharp pains in my stomach, and I'm like hurled over on my bed. It's like this is going on for quite a while. I'm doing everything I can because all of a sudden my stomach just expands over time. I have the worst gas pains ever. And I'm doing all that I can to get this gas out of me. So I'm going in like different positions. And at the time, my roommate, I think he heard this ruckus that was going on because all you heard was like what sounded like a young girl moaning. and every probably 35 seconds, you just heard farts and burps and all disgusting types of noises. And all of a sudden I start to feel a little bit better. So I'm like, all right, look, the farting is working. Let me just keep this going. It's finally helping the pain subside a little bit. And out of nowhere, one fart turned out to be not a fart at all. And there I was in my bed, and I just sharted. Now I'm like, oh boy, run to the bathroom. And it's probably like 2 a.m. at this point. And all those dried cherries started to find their way out. And luckily I had my underwear on, and it wasn't just a giant mess in my bed, but there was a disgusting mess in my underwear. And that is my story to remind you to never go food shopping early, or hungry rather. So this way you don't overeat a whole bunch of sugar and calories, and you don't shit your pants at 2 o'clock in the morning. So just a little fun reminder for you there, and hopefully my story helps you on your path there. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. The entire episode won't be about me shitting my pants. I do want to talk to you about how fitness trends have fucked up your results. And let me just say this before I get into what I want to talk about. These fitness trends may have helped a lot of people lose some weight and get healthier overall. So I'm not completely knocking everything I'm going to talk about today, and you'll see what I mean. But hey, listen, if one of these things that I'm going to cover today has helped you lose 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds of body fat, get healthier, meet new people, then more power to you. I think that's awesome. But ultimately, strictly from a training standpoint, these trends have not helped you. They've hurt you more than they've helped you as far as creating real results go. So what are some of the trends? Well, over the years, you've seen HIIT training popping up everywhere. You've seen boot camps. You've heard the term functional training before. You've heard of CrossFit, of course, body weight only training, P90X. The list goes on, right? And a lot of these things have created certain issues, overuse issues being one of them. For example, if you're doing certain exercises over and over and over again, and you're doing them with poor alignment, you don't have the right body structure or body composition for those specific exercises, and you're just doing them repeatedly, you could create tendonitis, you could create problems in your joints, you could create tears in some of the soft tissue in your joints. It could just create some overuse injuries, some pain and problems long term. All right. Another thing is a lack of real progress. So first, let's define what we're trying to actually accomplish in the gym, okay? Because this one could get a little bit fuzzy. So as far as progress goes, or real results, I should say, most of you are training to lose body fat. Most of you also don't want to just lose body fat and become skinny fat. You want to look lean, you want to look strong, you want to look fit. For the most part, speaking to you, the Iron Life Nation, speaking to you as a listener of this show, I doubt that you just want to lose a bunch of fat and be weak as piss and lack mobility and lack stability and strength, right? Because you're listening to this show. So that means you want to have all of those boxes checked as far as results go. So what does progress look like in the gym? It means we're building muscle. It means we're getting stronger. It means we're creating stability to prevent avoidable injuries. It means we're creating the mobility or the range of motion of your joints so you can move better without pain, unrestricted. Okay? It means we're developing at least a baseline level of conditioning so you could play your weekend sport, or so you could play and run with your kids, or so you could just have a general level of conditioning so you don't die early. Those are the results that you want, along with fat loss, or at least the maintenance of your current body fat if you're already pretty lean. So if that is what you want, is a HIIT class going to accomplish those goals? No. What about boot camps, whatever that is, however you want to define those? No. Well, functional training, maybe, but what is functional training? Like, some people will say, hey, this is what we do here is functional training, but you're balancing on one foot for every exercise you do while you're training your left arm, you're standing on your right foot and juggling with your right hand. It's like, is that going to help you build muscle? No. It's going to help you build strength. Like, you might be better at that specific thing, but is that really functional training? I say no. Well, what about CrossFit? Now, CrossFit's a funny one, right? Because I respect the shit out of high-level CrossFit athletes. Of course, those workouts are certainly challenging. Of course, the people that are doing it at the highest level are incredibly fit. They're incredibly strong, incredibly conditioned. They look jacked. They look great, right? But if you are the average dude that's coming off the street and you're a couple pounds overweight and you got shoulder issues and you got tendonitis in your elbow and you had a knee replacement a few years back and you want to feel better, you want to build muscle, in my opinion, I know that all the CrossFit guys and girls out there are going to want to cut my head off for saying this, but in my opinion, CrossFit is not going to be ideal for you because of the exercises that are being performed, the volume that is prescribed for those specific exercises, and it's just not optimal for most people to train in that manner. Now, keep this in mind. If you are a CrossFit athlete and you're listening to the show, if CrossFit is your sport, then more power to you. Jiu-jitsu is my sport. It's not optimal for as far as health goes of my joints, right? It's not great for somebody to be cranking on my neck or cranking on my arm. But I love jiu-jitsu, so I do it. Now, if you love CrossFit because that's your sport, you like to compete, you like the community aspect of it, then that's great. You should do it. But what I'm talking about is the general population who want to use CrossFit to build muscle, to look better, to feel better, it's not ideal for you because it's going to end up fucking you up at some point. Just like jiu-jitsu. Listen, I have a complex tear in my left meniscus from jiu-jitsu. I also sprained my ACL in that same knee. I have a nerve issue because I got armbarred one day. My head snapped back. Since then, I pinched a nerve. There's definitely a nerve being compressed. I'm not sure if there's any type of like bulge or herniation in the disc in my cervical spine, but I have neck pain. And sometimes that neck pain makes my entire arm go numb and shoots all the way down my right arm. I haven't stopped doing jiu-jitsu because I love jiu-jitsu. But again, you don't want to get fucked up from exercising. So I don't do jiu-jitsu just as a means of exercise to lose fat or to enhance my conditioning. I do it because I love the thing. I love the sport. Okay? I've become addicted to it. So with that being said, just consider your training program should be designed to do the opposite. It shouldn't be designed to get you hurt. It should be designed to get you strong, to get you healthy, to get you fit, to get you moving better, feeling better. Okay, so doing it for a hobby or for a sport rather, that's one thing. But doing it for your main source of training because you want to achieve a result, it's not ideal. At least in my opinion. All right. So when we're talking about progress there and overuse injuries, just consider those things. All right. Now, here's the thing. The truth is, the reason why these boot camps and HIIT programs have gained so much popularity is because there's great marketing behind them. They talk about, quote unquote, afterburn. Right? They talk about how you're going to burn more calories after the training is complete. They talk about how you're going to lose fat, build muscle, and do all these things. And that's what you want. So it's great marketing. It's speaking to your pain points. It's getting you thinking, oh, maybe that is the answer to my problem. But in reality, your diet is going to dictate how much fat you're going to lose. Yes, exercise helps. Of course it does. But any form of exercise will help you lose body fat or burn calories rather. But it's only going to go to the extent of your diet. If your diet's not dialed in, you're never going to transform your physique in the way that you want. Okay? So I don't care what any boot camp or HIIT class program tells you, you're not going to melt fat off of your frame and all of a sudden look shredded just from doing their program, which is why I always tell you guys, your training should be geared towards building muscle, getting stronger, and checking the other boxes that I mentioned earlier, stability, mobility. Conditioning is a component, but it shouldn't be tied into your strength training. Okay, that's the difference, right? If you have limited time, sure, you could throw in finishers like we do at TTS, but dedicating 1 or 2 days a week in addition to your strength training should be focused on conditioning. All right, so I don't want to get off on a tangent there, but I think I already did, too late, but there's great marketing behind those programs, all right? So that's why a lot of them have popped up all over your neighborhood and in every city, because there's a strong marketing, and that's going to attract a lot of people. All right. Now, again, like I said in the beginning of the show, these things, if your ass is sitting on your couch, you're eating fucking potato chips, you're watching TV, you barely exercise, and you join a fucking HIIT class down the street because you're like, dude, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I need to do something. I'll support you all day. Do that. Do that thing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making your training optimal. Gearing your training towards the result that you actually want to accomplish. That's the difference, right? So if you were to look at the top athletes in the world, right? The people that truly look the way you want to look. obviously we're not going to perform like the highest level athletes in the world. But there are some attributes that they have that we want to train as well, like speed and power, like having lean muscle mass on your frame. Like, look at a UFC fighter. George St. Pierre is a good example. For those of you that are too young to remember George St. Pierre, you should look him up because he's a legend in mixed martial arts. But he had a great physique, right? He was muscular. He was lean, right? So our training should be geared towards achieving a physique like a George St. Pierre or like a LeBron James. He's a basketball player, and I don't think we're going to get to be 6'7" or whatever the hell LeBron James is from our training, but he's lean, he's muscular, right? Look at the top physique athletes in the world, and I'm only talking about bodybuilders. And even if you want to go back, if you're like, oh, I don't ever want to look like a 300-pound bodybuilder. Yeah, me neither. Look at the golden era of bodybuilding. Look at the Arnolds and, people from that generation. None of those people, nobody that I mentioned, accomplished or achieved that physique or their level of fitness by doing a boot camp or by doing a CrossFit, coming off the couch and just doing CrossFit. No, they train with a specific intention. Building muscle, getting more explosive, getting stronger. And the exercises that they utilize will help develop mobility and stability. Okay, and then we throw in warm-ups into the mix to check those boxes as well. The diet is what will dictate how much body fat they have on their frame. And of course, at the highest level, of course, right, if we're talking about LeBron James, to use that example again, they're burning a shit ton of calories practicing and doing all that. And also some guys are freaks of nature. But when you look at, to go to bodybuilders for an example, it's not they're like, hey, I got to get super lean for my show, so I'm going to take 5 HIIT classes a day. No. They may up their activity a little bit by adding in more cardio, but it's their diet that gets them to look as lean as they do when they get on stage. So I hope that makes sense to you, right? I hope that you understand, like, in order to achieve a specific goal, you have to train in a way that's going to check those boxes, right? You got to train in a way that's not going to destroy you long term. And that's unfortunately what a lot of these fitness trends that have popped up over the years have done. Now, with that said, the impact that these things have had, or that these trends have had rather, on our society is that people think that this thing is going to help them transform their body, right? They think that it's like, hey, this is the thing that's going to get me to look like this. And it's not. So a lot of times, after some time, people quit because they get frustrated because the people there aren't telling them the truth about how to actually accomplish their goals. See, if you're going to achieve a result, you need consistency doing the things that actually matter. Okay, so that's what we try to teach our members at TTS, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. What actually matters? Well, we have what we call the TTS Core 4, and it's a very simple way to take a look at what is actually going to matter to move the needle in your favor. All right? So here's what they are. I want you to write these things down if you have a notebook handy. So and by the way, in each one of these categories, you could always progress or regress any one of these areas regardless of your current level. Okay? Because the first thing we need to do is set a baseline in each one of these things, and then we could figure out what's the low-hanging fruit for you. So the first box is training, right? Now this, we could talk for forever on training, okay? But are you at least getting 3 to 4 days per week of a quality strength training program in for 60 minutes per session, 45 to 60 minutes per session. Are we doing that? Okay, the next is your nutrition. Baseline level. Are we getting in 4 healthy meals per day? Does each meal consist of at least contain a lean source of protein? And when I say a lean source of protein, I'm talking about at bare minimum 35 grams per serving. Are you getting 2 servings of green veggies per day? Are you getting 2 servings of a fruit per day? Are you getting at least 1 serving of starchy carbohydrate per day? If you're not doing that, do we need to start tracking calories for fat loss? Do we need to start obsessing over macros? Probably not. Like, what if you just start there and get really good at doing that for the next 6 weeks? Odds are, if you do that, if you dial that in, that alone, you're going to see some significant progress over a 6-week period, and then you'll develop some of the habits around your nutrition and skills that you need to then focus more on specific calorie count to achieve a specific goal once you hit a plateau. But oftentimes, that's the first thing that you need. So that's the baseline. Now, next is your lifestyle and your mindset. Okay, lifestyle. Are you drinking? Are you smoking cigarettes? Are you doing any of that stupid shit? Are you doing drugs? Are you staying up late? Are you sitting most of the day? All right, well, here's baseline. Stop doing any stupid shit, okay? And let's get your step count to 7,500 to 10,000 steps per day. All right, that's 1 box there. Let's spend 5 minutes per day meditating. Just meditating, just you alone with your thoughts, breathing, right? Just make that a practice. And if you can't do 5 minutes, can we dedicate 2 minutes a day, right? But at least that's a baseline. That's something for you to shoot for there. And then finally, recovery. Are we getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night? All right. Now, again, the answer might be yes for all 4 of those things. And if it is yes, okay, how could we make your training better? How could we make it more specific towards your specific goal? Same thing goes for your diet. As far as lifestyle goes, okay, what else can we be doing? Can we add in journaling? Can we add in therapy? There's a lot of shit that you can do to make your life better. How about being present? How about managing your time better? Time blocking. That all falls into that lifestyle category, and there's layers to each one of these things. Recovery. Are you sleeping 9 hours? The answer is yes. All right, beautiful. How could we make your sleep better? Could we add in an evening routine? Could we stop hitting the snooze button when you wake up in the morning? All of these things matter. Now, as far as your results go, those are the 4 boxes. Okay, there is no HIIT program. There is none of that. Now, I'm not saying that true HIIT training or different methods of cardio aren't useful. Of course they are. Of course they are. They should be a staple in your program. Okay, that would fall under the training category, by the way. Making things more specific. But it's like if you're not doing the foundation, then is a HIIT class going to be the thing that you actually need? Probably not, right? So the moral of the story here, guys, is that you got to ignore the noise. If you truly want to build the body that you want, if you truly want to get healthy, you truly want to get fit, you have to ignore all the noise that's out there. And that's hard to do because marketers are very good at getting your attention. But you have to remember, think back. I want you to think back to the reason that you probably started training. Like for me, I started training because of Sylvester Stallone, all the Rocky movies. I started training because of Arnold. I started training because of The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H. I wanted to look like those guys. There wasn't a HIIT class in the world that was going to get me to look that way, and I didn't even think of it because at the time, it didn't even really exist. And I knew that that's not what those guys were doing, and they looked great. So what did they do? Oh, you started obsessing over this stuff when you're a young kid in your teens. What the hell are these guys doing? Oh, well, they're lifting X amount of times per week. Here's what their programs look like. Okay, I'm going to do that. What are they doing to get lean? How do they get abs? Oh, well, they're dieting their fucking faces off. All right, cool. I'm going to do that. How do I do that? What foods do I eat? What foods do I not eat? How long do I do this? Right? And so you realize then that that's before all the marketing hype, like that's how every kid starts their path in fitness. Idolizing someone else, wanting to look like them, and just doing the shit that they did. Now, unfortunately, there's so much BS out there on social media. You might be looking up to some type of social media influencer, Kim Kardashian, who's selling their workout programs because they got a big ass and they look good in fucking spandex, and they're doing some schlocky fucking air squats, and you're like, oh, that's going to make my butt look like Kim Kardashian's. No, it's not. I promise you, it will not. So, unfortunately, I know mostly men listen to this show. So, by the way, if you want an ass like a Kardashian, there's not much that I could help you with. You're going to have to seek out a plastic surgeon in your area. But if there are women listening to the show, don't get sucked into the gimmicks. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Look up reputable coaches, reputable people that actually look the way you want to look and have actually achieved the way they look by working hard at it, not because of great genetics and being blessed with a giant ass, okay? Not because some 18-year-old kid on juice with a shredded six-pack is telling you to take this supplement because it's going to burn fat and you're going to have a six-pack in 20 days. It's not how it works. If you want to achieve success, you got to fucking work your ass off. And you got to do things the right way. And if you follow the guidelines that I just told you, and you focus your efforts on building muscle in the gym and getting stronger, using the right exercises for you. And by the way, working hard, right? So I'm going to share with you our TTS scale of progression because I think that this can really help you and if you can make some sense of this. So first is exercise selection, making sure that you're using the right exercises for you based on your bone structure, based on your injury history, based on your training level and age and your movement quality. So exercise selection is the first thing. Then the second step of your progression is technique mastery, making sure that you are focused, dialed in on every set that you do in the gym, mastering that movement. Treating it as a skill, and you're trying to acquire the skills to move better and perform that exercise like a work of art. Now, once you do that, the next step is your effort. How hard are you working? Are you pushing yourself to the degree that you need to actually yield an adaptation? And that adaptation that you want is more muscle on your frame and getting stronger in that movement. Because I see this all the time. There's people that can handle 70-pound dumbbells using 50-pound dumbbells for the same rep range. If you could do 10 reps with 70s, but you're only using 50s and you're only doing 10 reps, you will no longer yield any adaptation. So you have to challenge yourself. You have to work hard and push yourself. So that's effort. Then the next step on the scale of progression is progress. And that could be to progress the exercise itself. For example, going from a goblet squat to a safety bar squat. Or following the progressive overload principle, which kind of ties into effort again, meaning that each week we are either increasing your intensity, meaning the weight that you're using, or we are increasing overall volume, which are sets and reps. And when you look at it that way, you got to consider that you're not just pushing numbers at the expense of your technique. You have to continuously look back at technique mastery and know that as I'm following this progressive overload principle, I'm never pushing numbers at the expense of technique, because that's how you get injured. And finally, the last one is consistency. Staying consistent with these fundamental human movement patterns, getting stronger in them, progressing in them for a lifetime, not just doing this for 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months. Doing this fucking forever and committing to it. You cannot expect to transform your physique long-term by training short-term or following a diet short-term. You have to change your habits. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change the core four and commit to moving those things forward week in, week out. You're going to have good days. You're going to have great days. You're going to have shitty days. But you need to stay consistent during all those days, no matter what. There's going to be more days where you don't feel like doing it than days that you actually do. So if you could stay consistent during the shitty days, then I promise you, you're going to see more progress in the next year than you have in your entire life. That, my friends, is all that I have for you today. If you liked the episode, if you could do me a favor and take a quick second out of your day and leave a 5-star iTunes review or leave a written review, it will truly mean the world to me. It really, really helps us grow the show, and that would be greatly appreciated. And anybody who leaves a 5-star review, I will send you over some merch as well. Believe me, I don't take them lightly. I read every single one of them. So if you have a second to leave a review, it would really mean the world. So thank you in advance for that. And I appreciate you listening. And I will catch you next week on another episode of the Iron Life Podcast. Peace.